Hey everyone, welcome back to Eyes on the Ball. This is episode 20, Big 2-0. Isn't it crazy? It is a little bit crazy, I can't lie. 20 episodes of just non-stop basketball conversations, really? Yes, sir. A lot has happened since the last, I think, like 7, 8 days. We're done with the first round. Kind of crazy because, honestly, you know, I think this first round has probably been the most fun first round we've had in a while. Just super entertaining on both conferences too. The East was a lot more even coming into the season, and it showed that way in the playoffs as well. I mean, we kind of knew it was going to be even. Honestly, even going back to the play-in, the Hornets was a team that, every team that had to go against them should have been scared of. And realistically, the Magic, if the Magic lost against the Hornets, we would have had the Hornets versus Pistons, which would have been a crazy matchup too. But um, like I said before, the play-in basically was a waste of time to an extent because the team that stayed the same seating, or was the original seating, stayed the same seating anyways. So yeah, first round is done. Um, and so what I'm gonna do is kind of just go back to my predictions and see what happened, and then later on I'm gonna give predictions for round two. I don't have too much to say for the predictions for round two, but I definitely do want to speak about round two because it's obviously, I want to give my predictions, and I think it's gonna be an amazing matchup for both sides as well. Same thing. So we're gonna start for the East first. First match we're gonna do is Celtics. My prediction for the Celtics and 76ers was Celtics in 5 or 76ers in 7. I actually got this one right, 76ers in 7. I want to give a humongous shout out to VJ, Embiid, and Paul George. I mean, they played their fucking minds off. I know Maxey was pretty much consistent throughout the entire the series. I think he had like one or two bad games, but he was pretty much consistent throughout the entire series. But honestly, again, like with Embiid, VJ, and Paul George, they were like that trio was just so impactful on both sides of the floor. Embiid didn't play the first two games. I think the first three. Played the last four to close out. Paul George was playing the entire time. He was great defensively, and VJ Edgecombe, as a rookie, was doing what he was doing. Like, again, like I said this when I was doing the play-in prediction. VJ Edgecombe has been one of the best players in the clutch, net rating wise, and he's a rookie doing that shit. He's literally under SGA. He's just extremely good defensively. He matches up extremely well against similar sized players. What I've realized. I don't know if it's because he just has so much more like strength in his arms, and he has a super long wingspan as well, so he's able to get a lot of deflections and just like picks and steals when guarding smaller players like him. But he is just so good defensively, and he is not shy away from the moment either. That is something that honestly, like, you go into every playoffs, and you can pull out the spreadsheet, you can pull out the experience. A lot of these playoffs are determined by just having that dog. If you don't have that dog in you, then you out of here. That's why the Knicks almost lost, to be honest. But again, we'll go into that a little bit later. But yeah, I got some stats I wanted to bring up. That trio had a plus 11 net rating, 98.6 defensive rating. Something that trio did really well was that they forced the Celtics to take a lot of their inefficient shots, made them shoot 31.6 in the mid range, 29.2 on corner threes. Again, back to Embiid, missed the first 3 games actually, and then he played more than 34 minutes in all of the last 4 games, while averaging 28, 7, and 9 on 44% field goal shooting. Every lineup he was in influenced the rebounding battle, which again is great for playoff basketball. Playoff basketball is not about pace, not about transition scoring. You got to be able to score in the half court. And Paul George averaged 17, 3, and 4 on nearly 50% field goal shooting. And the Celtics had nobody who could stop Embiid. That was the main thing they had. Going into the season, the Celtics needed a center. They had a Keita who was really, really good. But it's still something they needed. They went ahead and got Vooch. more of like a honestly more of like a I don't even know what you would call it. Like even when they got him, I think it was a good signing for like now you have two decent sensors, but Vooch was never going to be huge for that team, and so it kind of almost comes out as like a almost a waste you can say, but it obviously didn't work out anyways, right? So again, like they needed a five the entire season. They had one that looked good, but come playoff time, that five was not enough. Um, um, Another thing again with Tatum missing, Tatum was Tatum missed Tatum missed almost more than half of the season, like 80-90% of the season. Came back, was like their most impactful player in a net rating. Um, then unfortunately, I think it was game 4 he got injured, and honestly, when he got injured, I kind of knew it was over for the Celtics, mainly because what Tatum does for that team is so essential to the team's identity, because he is kind of like, I don't want to say the engine of that team, or the facilitator of that team, but he does kind of is the player or the vessel that you can say that kind of represents that team identity, which is just being able to jack up threes, having a good high feel with the game, making the right passes, and being able to influence the offensive rebounding battle. That's exactly what Tatum is. Um, Tatum on the court had a 7.2 offensive rebounding percentage swing, but again he was injured. And Brown also had a 7.7 swing to the offensive rebounding percentage, but he was tasked with being the number one option, which makes it fatiguing. Talking about the last few seconds of the game 7, I feel like it was crazy that they didn't kind of win. The 76ers or the Celtics had like I think almost 6, 7, 8 scoring opportunities. Not even to like just opportunities to either tie the game or give them the lead, and they just continuously missed. It was some threes in there, but it was also some twos that they missed. The one big one was a Pritchard 3 from the corner. Now honestly, when I was watching it, I thought my heart kind of sank. I thought it was over for the 76ers, to be honest, but I was extremely surprised that Pritchard missed that 3. But he missed the 3, and the Celtics lost. Let me see. I think I got something. Yeah, from minute 3:36 to minute 2:17 of the fourth quarter, there were 6 bricks collectively from both teams. And then 76ers scored on 5 separate occasions after that, and every shot attempt from the 76ers the Celtics except for a layup with 10 seconds left was a missed bucket. So they just stunk it up the last few possessions. And you kind of feel bad because I think Tatum really wanted to come back this season and like show off that he was still great, and show off that the Celtics still had that resilience to them. And even then, I think that message still got across the league with that team. Nobody thought the Celtics would be a top 2 team in the East, with Tatum missing, but they were. And I can only imagine Tatum felt horrible with that injury, having to sit out for games 6 and 7, and I'm sure that he wanted to be on the court so that he could possibly make them win. And I think honestly, if he was healthy, I think they probably would have won. But the main difference was Embiid. Embiid was like just monumental. It was dominant, and if he's able to stay healthy for the rest of the postseason, 76ers can get far, because that is a super talented lineup. They just play basketball in like the best way to win. They have a winning lineup, I would say. Just great defenders, 1 through 5. Maybe not Maxey, I wouldn't say, but 2 to 5 great defenders. All 5 players can create their own shot. VJ kind of has some trouble with shot creation, but he's a clutch 3-point shooter, extremely crafty. Again, great defender. So again, that lineup is very good, and there's not a lot of number 1 options in the league that can really get you a championship, but I think Embiid is one of them, and that lineup could go far if Embiid stays healthy. next round or next matchup was the Knicks and Hawks, and Knicks in 5 or Hawks in 6. So actually, of course, the Knicks won in 6. Um, I knew CJ would win the one game. Like I just knew it. Like that was just something like in my heart. I already knew it was gonna happen as soon as they matched up. I knew CJ was gonna win one game. Did not think he would win them 2 games, especially back to back the way that he did. Um, that matchup was really weird because I think a lot of it just offensively, the Hawks had so much against the Knicks, and I think Dyson Daniels was just like completely overpowering their scoring options, and it did not help that the Knicks wings were not producing any sort of offense the first like 3-4 games. And even with Jalen Johnson having like a pretty bad series, honestly like a really bad series, I have his stats, and I'll show him or talk about him in a bit. But Jalen Johnson had a bad series, and they still, it was looking iffy for the Knicks the first 4 games. But something that they did really well. The Knicks did, and that they should have done since the beginning. But you kind of look at that team and you realize maybe they did it on purpose, or maybe there's just some other stuff going on that we don't know about. But they gave the ball to Cat, and they let Cat go to work, because what Cat does is just he's a mismatch demon for smaller players. Like there's not many players who can guard Cat, because he's just the perfect blend of physicality and being a stretch 5, being smart with the ball in his hands, being a smart passer. So. And they just gave the ball to Cat more, and he was great. Let me see the stats I got for Cat. Before I go to Cat, let me talk about JJ. His numbers dropped significantly. Now, again, we'll give some grace because this is a first time being a number 1 option on the team. Maybe he's not a number 1 option on the team anyways, but again, we'll give some grace. You'll see. His 3-point percent dropped from 35 to 29 in the playoffs, and I don't have the rest of his numbers, not gonna lie, but everything else was basically like a drop. Like this points was a drop, assists was a drop, rebound counting stats was a drop, plus minus was like a huge drop, I think too. But yeah, and then I looked at Brunson numbers. Brunson numbers barely changed. There were decreases, but like the decreases were so minimal that it's not really too much to say about it. Nothing really crazy at all in his numbers. He still averaged like 26. I think 4 and 3, I think is what he averaged. Wasn't really too efficient in terms of true shooting percentage, but again, like Brunson. And then Cat was incredible. He had 18.7 points, 6 assists, 11.3 boards on 73.6 true shooting percentage. Shot 62.5 on 2s and 44.4 on 3s. And his free throw rate was fucking 70%, which is like insane. And it makes sense because nobody on the team could guard him. There was nobody on the team who could do anything against him. He's just too big. The only way to stop him with that Hawks team was just foul him, because they didn't have a center who could really match up with him in terms of physicality. They had Onyeka, but he's not their best defender, or at least on a one-on-one basis, kind of thing, like how Cat kind of puts you in. Jock Landale was injured, so yeah, I mean, the matchup was great regardless. Again, it's like I said before with the Hawks squad, it was like, that matchup is just a great experience for them. They have a pick this year. They're going towards the right direction. They have a young core with a good vet guard who can obviously close out games for them in the future. And yeah, I mean, again, like everything else for them was just good experience. Next was the next was in Cavs and Raptors. I had Cavs in 5 and Raptors in 7, and actually the Cavs won in 7. To me, this is honestly a super exciting matchup. I didn't think this matchup was gonna go as long as it did. This is one of those matchups where, like, again, like I really don't watch the Raptors or the Cavs, to be honest. So I didn't look at the games like too seriously, or the matchup too seriously. But this is, them matching up and going head to head like this was just like a huge wake up call to show, how much talent really is in the league. and how much talent are in these two teams as well. Obviously, we knew the Cavs were talented, but going against a team like the Raptors and taking them to 7, the Raptors taking the Cavs to 7 realistically is how you should put it. It was just like very cool to witness because the Raptors themselves are just an interesting like team build. Like for a team to have like no real guard or like have their shot creation or shot or kind of just have like their main playmaking from their wing, like their do-it-all wing, kind of like the Hawks, but like in a much more physical way. And Scotty Barnes is just like super cool, and half of the fucking team are just wings. Like this is a team full of wings and cornrows, and it's super fucking funny watching them play. Not gonna lie. Cavs barely won, but they did win Game 7 kind of decisively. Max Strus was amazing in that last game. Jared Allen was huge in that last game. One of their most impactful players throughout the entire series. He was just super aggressive in that last game, and that's something that I kind of, it showed in the past before too. Like every time he's aggressive, that team always looks entirely different because it takes the attention away from Mobley, and just Jared Allen just knows how to take advantage of like the gravity that Mitchell and Mobley possess. They're just passing the ball, and he's low-key sneaky athletic too, with like a super long wingspan. So it kind of just like, it scares you a little bit the way he be dunking and shit. But I do want to give a shout out to Colin Murray Boyles. Fucking amazing. He will have a long and impactful career in the NBA. I think he will be a championship piece in the future, kind of like a Caruso kind of guy with more talent. He had averages 6.3 deflections, 2.1 steals, 3.6 stop percentage. He's a super high frequency finisher. He's inefficient, but it'll improve over time. And again, he's like a taller. He's one of those tall players with like a 7+ foot wingspan. So like it's only gonna get better over time. You just have to, keep on improving. Cause like 7 foot wingspan. Like come on, like that's easy buckets in terms of play finishing. Scotty again showed he's a top 20 player in the league. Average 24, 8.6 assists and 6 boards on 60.5 true shooting percentage. Shot nearly 40% from 3 and forced a 16.2 turnover percentage, and held opponents true shooting down by around 5%. Again, one of the better two-way players in the league by a margin. He not up there with Wemby. I think Wemby's in a league of his own, but he's up there, right? Like he's just elite. I do worry for the Cavs for the next series. Not shitting on the Raptors. I just thought the Cavs would have a lot more firepower against this team. I thought they were gonna like completely take him out the map. To be honest, I don't know if it's because they're missing Ty Jerome, who was like their bench scorer, who always kind of just extended the lead when Don went out. But this is something that I do worry for them coming next round. I do wonder if you kind of look at Harden for it. I think Harden needs to be able to scale his performance. When Don is not playing the best, he needs to be able to perform. He was not doing in the last few games. Again, I think he's a good second option for the team. And I think he will continue to be a good second option for the team as well. But I think he needs to remember that he's fucking Harden, and that he can like scale up to number one option and be good for the team. Because again, I think that duo of Harden and D-Mitch should be like a offensive, like demonic offensive duo. Next matchup, Pistons versus Magic. Now, I have Pistons in 6 or Magic in 6. And it's actually Pistons in 7. So this matchup, crazy, right? I think there's so much to say about it because the Pistons, as much as people don't talk about it, the Pistons are kind of like, they kind of have the same not expectation, but I guess the same interpretation, I guess you could say, that the Thunder had last year, where it's like, we know that they ultimately had a huge um like lead against the other teams in the regular season. They have their MVP caliber player and great role players along the squad. Hot, completely blew out teams, high net rating. But can they actually win a championship? Because they're still young, they're inexperienced. Maybe they need more firepower, and so because of that, there's some doubt with that team, right? And they go against this Magic team who also we knew the entire season had inner turmoil between either the players and the coach, or just they were not as good as they should have been coming into the season. And so this matchup, I think, even with the uh, the regular season showing what it did, I think this matchup again, like they went to 7. It was a pretty even matchup. Paolo did his fucking thing. Cade did his thing, especially the last 2 games. Like it was just a duel between them. Franz got injured. Franz got injured. I think in game 4 or 5, which is like the game after they got 3-1 lead. The Magic got 3-1 lead. But yes, Magic having a 3-1 lead on the first seed with an MVP candidate. I mean, you could have convinced me or anybody else that Jamal Mosley or that Mosley's job was secure. To come back to go up 3-1 on the number 1 seed in the East, while everybody's saying that your job is on the line and that your team sucks and blah 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 all that. Like that's like results over talk, And then they go down in game 7 and lose. Like it just adds more fuel to the fire for firing them. For firing Mosley. And I mean, at the time that I made these notes, Mosley was fired, so they fired his ass, wasted no time. It was honestly kind of crazy that they did it. So, I mean, it made sense because I think they said multiple times already that they were gonna fire him no matter what. But it was I mean, I don't blame them for firing him. Obviously, as a Grizzlies fan, I know what road this could lead to. I also know whether or not firing the coach is a right or wrong thing to do. Because again, the Magic lineup, they're super talented. Like that is a super talented lineup. Suggs, Bane, Franz, Paulo, and then Wendell Carter Jr. I mean, that's a super talented lineup, right? So it's hard to try to separate that because, I mean, even then, like Franz had like a lot of injury this year, but that's really it. And they missed a lot of cohesion and time that they could have had playing this season. But that squad, other than Bane, had time playing before, and they were good. Last year, like they had their defensive identity, and Franz was the main player who was just providing so much defense, especially on POA, and that's what they missed in this series too, because Franz was the one holding Cade back. Because as soon as Franz went down, Cade went fucking crazy. In the last 3 games to close out the series, Cade averaged 36.6 points, 5 rebounds, 6.7 assists on 52% field goal shooting and 61% from 3. All with a medical device strapped to his chest for his lung. Like, that's just gangsta. That's gangsta as fuck. I was talking shit on Cade before, but that motherfucker gangsta. He gangsta as shit for walked him down. Especially in that last game, dude. Like, he was like, I could be wrong, but I think the Magic had a lead in that last game too before they lost. Like they had a I don't know if it was game 7 or game 6, but the Magic had a lead and then they lost it. And that's something they kept on doing. I think game 7 or was it game it was game 6, not game 7. It was like 45 minutes of real time had passed since the Magic scored a bucket. Brother, I could put a basketball in my grandma's hands and she's scoring at least 5 fucking times on a regular basketball hoop in 45 minutes. 5 grown men who play fucking NBA basketball their entire lives can't fucking do that shit once in 45 minutes. So again, you can fire the coach. You can't. I get it. But is the coach the problem? Is the coach stopping them from being able to score in 45 minutes? You know what I mean? Asar Thompson. That is a fucking demon. Let me see the stats. He's finished the series off tied with Wemby for the most blocks in the postseason at 16. Also tied with the most steals in the postseason at 16 with Marcus Smart. Players shot 23% worse at the rim when he was their primary defender. And he's 6'7" doing all that shit. That's just, I mean, if not for Wemby, that's DPOY right there. And he was top 3 finalist in DPOY, but it's fucking fire as fuck too. I love that they actually like gave him the nod. But I mean, that's just crazy. And it's only what, like year 2 or year 3. He's only gonna get better. We know the offensive side kind of lacks a bit. His handle is not the best. Shot creation is not the best. He's more so of a play finisher, lob catcher, lob threat. But regardless, I mean, what he's providing on defense is just like absolute. He's just amazing. He did play more games than Wemby. So, you know, you kind of do give him the excuse, I guess. But regardless, like, it's still crazy that he's like up there with Wemby. Yeah, I mean, I can't talk too much on the Magic because, again, Paolo was pretty good the last. You know, you could blame it on Paolo. I don't mind, especially the first few games. But I mean, he was the only one putting the ball in the bucket or the ball in the hoop the last 2 games. Bane was like pretty solid in the entire series. But like again, Jalen Suggs was horrible. Anthony Black, horrible. And that shit makes me so mad that he was horrible because he had such a good stretch of games in the middle of the season that I really thought he was going to be great for that team in the postseason. That did not work out at all. And yeah, you know, Franz going down was huge, unfortunately. But yeah. That's it with the East. Now I go to the West. I got Spurs, or it was Spurs versus Blazers. I got Spurs in 5 or Blazers in 7. I was right on this one too. Inshallah. Blazers won the 1 game without Wemby, which I thought was going to happen too. I'm pretty sure I don't think I said Wemby might be injured or might miss a game, but I did say I think that the Blazers could have a game where they're just completely explode offensively. Drew Holiday, Robin Williams. His name is Robin Williams, right? I think so. I hope so. Unk still got it. Them niggas is nice. I mean, there's not too much to say about the season. I mean, that series we had like a little fight with Denny and Stephon Castle, which was kind of fire. But I did think the Blazers were gonna be like a lot better defensively. To be honest, they just were not that good defensively, especially interior defense because of Robin and Clingan. But they just were not that good. I think Spurs shot 63% at the rim, which I think was like top 7 or 6 of all teams in the postseason, and then 43% of the paint. Yeah, they just did not have enough for that Spurs team. And then Spurs had that Wemby had that like little story with the injury thing where I guess he said that his doctor said that he could play that 1 game that he missed, but the NBA teams were like, nah, you can't. And he kind of was like so disappointed by it. And that became like a whole story where like they kind of like muted his mic or whatever when he was gonna talk about the NBA's teams like doing what they were doing. Which was interesting. I feel like honestly I'm for players speaking out. I didn't bring it up But the South Jalen Brown went live last night, like barely less than 24 hours after the game ended, and people are clowning him for it. I think it was funny too, but one, I kind of enjoy seeing these players go out and talk about their film and talk about the league. I think it's interesting to see it from their perspective, especially when they're talking about such interesting topics like the whole flopping thing, which I talked about before too. And I agree with him. I do think the league is kind of going towards something that it's just not great for the sport, in my opinion. For the entertainment, doesn't matter if you win. I guess it doesn't matter at all. Gotta do what you gotta do to win. But when he brought up like the praying or the pass to Pritchard in the corner instead of passing it to Takeda. But it was just cool talking about it, like hearing him talk about it. Is it a little lame? A little bit, kind of just blaming it on like the refs and all that. Like I'm not gonna disagree there. I do think it's a little lame, but again, I do think that it's cool for him to speak on about it. Sorry, as I can tell, I am sick as fuck. Next matchup, Nuggets in 6. Nuggets in 6 or Tim's in 7. It was actually Tim's in 6. This series, possibly like I think I had more fun watching the Suns versus Thunder. Like, this was just a horrible series. I had no fun watching this series. I think, and honestly, like I mentioned it, I think in the MVP race or something, or when I was talking about it before. You bring up the MVP race, it's really SGA versus Wemby, and people had Jokic up there. But I feel like Jokic just not putting up, like he's putting up ridiculous counting stats and even impact stats offensively too. But he's just not the. He's just. It's weird. This matchup showed a lot of what he lacks, and you could blame it on the team composition more than it is him. But you can also blame him. Like, he was an absolute cone defensively. Let me see. I know I got the stats somewhere here. Jokic gave up 67.6% at the rim, and the frequency shot up to 30 when he was out on the court. Again, Jokic and Jamal Murray's counting stats look good, but they were extremely inefficient. They had bad impact stats. Christian Brown fucking sucked. I'm telling you, dude, Peyton Watson, injured, be better than him. I think if you replace Brown's minutes with, like, honestly, I don't know why they didn't put him out more. Whatever. But Julian Schroeder should have got some more minutes, too. I don't know if he got injured or what it was. But I kind of like Schroeder in terms of at least offensive. Like, he was at least going to give you some shot creation, some shot handling, some perimeter shooting. But they trusted Brown. And again, like, I had the Nuggets winning because I thought Ant coming into the season, or coming into the series, that Ant's injury was going to be huge for the Tims. And then Dante, unfortunately, gets injured as well, which is, like, such a, like, horrible thing to happen. And so I honestly thought this was the easiest 3-1 comeback in Jokic's, like, that for any player that can, like, to have, right? Like, just add a 3-1 comeback to your resume right there. Like, that's like a layup. You fucking lose? Really? Come on, dude. It's nasty. It's nasty. Let me see. I know the Nuggets miss Aaron Gordon, which is, like, completely true. I totally get that and I understand that as well. But, like, but he's been on and off the entire regular season since last season. I think they're gonna put him in trade talks. Him and Murray, I think, is what they said. But I mean, like, I can't think about that series without being like disappointed. Like that was just disgusting. On the other hand, Jaden McDaniels, you are a gangster. You are a gangster as fuck. He averaged 17.8, 3 and 7 on near 50% field goal shooting. And he shot shit from three too. Like he shot horrible from three. I forgot what the percentages were, or what the counting stats were, the averages were, but I think it was like 11% from three for the series, which is like hilarious. He had a huge series. Gobert was completely unfuckable with defensively. I didn't even think he had some good. He had like one or two good offensive production games. Ao was amazing. He had his little 40 bomb, and I mean the Timberwolves basically showed off why they were back to back Western Conference attendees in that series. They laid pipe. They laid pipe to Nuggets. Again, I can't believe they lost like that. Like at least if they lost in Game 7, it would have been like at least more acceptable. Losing in 6. And I don't even think Ao played the last game. Or Io, sorry. I don't think he played the last game. I could be wrong in that though. I think he had an injury. No, I don't think he played. He had like a calf injury, I think, which made it worse. I can't. I'm not. Next game, Thunder in 5, 7-7, and Thunder in 4. I don't have much to say about this series either. I thought the Suns would at least take one, but they did not. They did miss Jordan Goodwin and Mark Williams. Is that enough to even like progress the series more or make it a lot harder? No. I think it's enough to make them at least win one though. Kind of disappointed in Jalen Green's ability to Dylan Brooks was amazing. Devin Booker was but Dylan Brooks was really good. Like I think he honestly deserves a lot of praise for what he did this season. There's an article that came out before the postseason or before playoffs, and he was basically just gassing or explaining his kind of story and stuff. And again, like I think he had like a phenomenal season. I think he was like just like you gotta tip your hat off to him for sure. Like I think he's one of the top scorers in the playoffs so far as well. Even though he got swept, like again, like just amazing on him. And on the Thunder side, I mean, they're 12-0 in first round matchups so far. Since the Pelicans series in 24. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know what you can say, honestly. Like, at this point, like, anytime the game gets close, it's just giving the ball to SGA. And just let him fuck you, honestly. Like, it's disgusting. Disgustingly good hoops. As much as I hate the Thunder, I gotta respect them. And I gotta glaze them too. Like, they're just unfuckable with. Last review, I guess, in my predictions. I had it was Rockets in 6 or Lakers in 7. And then I obviously said Lakers in 6. I think this was a horrible upset by the Rockets. While I do understand they missed so many of their players, again, they missed Fred VanVleet, who was going to be the engine of the team. They missed KD during the playoffs, other than one game. They missed Steven Adams, who again was like, at the very minimum, had they had Steven Adams, right, then at least Şengün is able to play with his best man on the court. But it just did not work out because he got injured. He got injured too. So again, it's hard to like rate the team, to rate the Rockets. But even then, to lose to a 80-year-old LeBron fucking James and Marcus of Smart in the Big 26 is disgusting. I'm not gonna lie. Like, that's just bad hoops, bro. That's bad hoops. Out of the Lakers players that averaged over 30 minutes, mind you, LeBron, I think, averaged 38 fucking minutes, which is outstanding. Braun and Reeves had the highest net rating. It was Lakers in 6. I do know Reeves was basically injured the first 4 games. I think he came back 5, but they lost. But I kind of had a feeling that was kind of like a warm up game. I didn't think they were gonna honestly go 2-7 anyways. I did have a feeling that that the Reeves was gonna come back after the warm up game, and then kind of beat them in 6, which did happen. But yeah, I think once Reeves came, first again, shout out to LeBron for being able to fucking keep up with that team and be able to do what they did. Luke Kennard had his 1 game that was huge against them as well. But yeah, once Reeves came back and KD, there was no sign of KD coming back. Kind of had a feeling it was over. But yeah, that was just, I don't know, like that. I don't feel worse about that lineup or that matchup compared to the Nuggets matchup, but I definitely do feel like disappointed as well. Mainly because it's like, I don't know, I expected a lot more from Jabari. I think Amen was pretty good. And I think Amen like should not be even looked at in terms of putting him on the market. Sengun was pretty dog shit. I think DFS was either injured or just not playing really well. The team just missed so many other vital players. It was just, and again, you put the young guys in a position where they have to go against an experienced vet in LeBron and a great coach on JJ too. Jabari had 17, 19, and 2 on 38% field goal percentage, which is like horrible efficiency. Amen, their most impactful player by a margin. He had a fucking 52.2 net swing, which is like disgustingly huge. LeBron was great defensively. The main thing he was bad at was kind of like interior defense or like rim defense, but it kind of makes sense. He's older, and the Rockets have like Amen and Jabari, who are very long and athletic. But yeah, like I said before, when the KD trade happened, what the KD does is it rushes the timeline, and you kind of wonder what happens next season. They might just kick it back and stay the same. And I wouldn't blame them because again, they missed so much. They missed so many players coming into the season and then mid-season as well, where it's like you could run it back and you might get a different outcome for sure. Yeah, great series by the Lakers for sure. And now my second round predictions. I don't have too many stats for this, but I do want to just at least talk about it for a little bit. East, my prediction: Pistons versus Cavs. I got Pistons in 5 or Cavs in 6. Honestly, every single matchup is difficult to gauge here. Obviously, of course, the Thunder versus Lakers one is probably the easiest one, but even then, I think you could say Thunder sweep, which they could, but I can also see OKC needing 5 or maybe even 6 games to beat Lakers, depending on if Luka comes back and if Luka is playing the way that he needs to be playing. But again, like his injury is a calf injury. But regardless, Pistons in 5 or Cavs in 6. I think the same way I see Pistons, the same way that I see OKC in terms of how you beat them, and is athleticism and high 3-point percentage or high 3-point rate. And I think the Cavs have that, especially with D-Mitch and Harden. It's just a matter of will it be enough for that team? Because I don't think that the Cavs are as physical as the Pistons, which can make that matchup a lot more difficult for the Cavs. And I don't think the Cavs had anybody who can actually stop Cade either. I don't think the Pistons have anybody like The Pistons had played a player like Mobley before either, though, too. And if Duren is sealed the same way he was last season or last series, even though I know he had a great closing game, things can get a little bit finicky for both sides. I think Harden. I have D-Mitch, even though D-Mitch is like the marquee matchup on top of the whiteboard. I do have Harden, or I do have him as the X factor because again, I think he is the immediate or like the how do I say? I guess like the physical incarnate or a representation of what you need to beat the Pistons. Again, like he's extremely athletic. Can shoot the three very well. He shoots the three a lot. So I think he is a player that you kind of look at and you kind of do see him as the type of player to need, or the type of player to beat the Pistons. I also think Harden would be good. D1 foul baiter. It's a physical team. He can definitely make that team rack up a lot of fouls really quickly, which can definitely change the outcomes of certain matchups for sure. They're gonna need to double K it a lot to ensure that and just make sure that Duren is sealed. But yeah, I do have Pistons in 5 just because I do think, again, Pistons are just too physical for them. Next is Knicks in 6 or Philly in 6. Yes, same matchup, same numbers. Why? I think these are like two of the most talented, like 1 to 5 in terms of talent. I don't think you can name a better lineup like matchup, honestly. Like, they both have they have a short, very high, good, or very good scoring point guard. They have a good defensive shooting guard who can also kind of do it all. They have 2 wings who are really good defensively, right? And they have the center who's a stretch 5 and also very physical. Like, they are literally like polar, like the same team, right? Like, talent to talent, I think Knicks match up a little bit better because I know 76ers, they got Paul Jordan, but I don't know who their other. I think Kelly Oubre is their other starting forward. I would say McHale is better than Oubre, but again, like, this is gonna be a super tough matchup. I can see this going to 7 for sure, but this is gonna be fire as fuck. It's gonna be another cultural matchup, for sure. Like I said, Knicks versus Hawks was gonna be a culture matchup. This is gonna be a culture matchup because they right next to each other. Like New York and Philly are right there. Be right there. So that's just gonna be funny as fuck. But it's gonna be a great matchup. Cat versus Embiid is gonna be like fucking Pound Town. They might just start fighting each other. Maybe not. Who knows? The one thing is, I do know VJ. Like I gas him enough. But another gas is coming, bro. VJ is one of the best Brunson defenders in the league, which is insane. VJ, in 87 possessions guarding Brunson, VJ held Brunson to 13 points, 4.9 assists, 2.1 turnovers per 75, and 38.2 true shooting percentage, which is like the absolute lowest that I've seen him at. But yeah, I think a lot of it, again, is going to be whether or not the Knicks wings can produce offensively, because we know they can produce defensively. I think they have enough to produce defensively, but it's just like they have to be able to produce offense. They have to be able to do that unless Cat and Brunson can somehow unlock their like pick and roll master class this lineup or this series. I just don't know if those two scoring individually is going to be enough, especially with again, VJ guarding Brunson. So I think, again, a lot of it's gonna have to do with just the Knicks wings. Like, they're gonna have to do better this series if they want a chance. Next matchup, OKC versus Lakers. I have OKC in 5 or Lakers in 7. Do I actually think Lakers in 7? Probably not, but I do have OKC in 5. Luka may not play the entire series, even though I did see some clips of him shooting around, which probably means he does want to play. But again, like, playing through a calf injury is just, Tatum's sat out for a reason. Maybe it's a good thing because, honestly, if he gets on the court with that calf injury, they're going to target the fuck out of him, right? But at the same time, it's like, to beat OKC, like I said before, I think you need firepower, athleticism, 3-point rate, and that's what Luka provides. Not only that, but he is a D1 foul baiter. So, again, it is playoff basketball, though, so they probably won't call too many free throws, but again, we'll see, because we know how it is with OKC. But I think Brogdon Reeves are gonna be not enough, but I think they'll be enough to win maybe one game. I can see them locking in for one game and just like shutting out OKC completely, whether it's game one or two. But um, unless they can be consistent the whole way through, which again I don't think will happen, they're not gonna beat OKC. They just don't have enough. They don't have enough for Shet. They don't have enough for SGA or iHeart. Jalen Williams still might not be available to play, which is kind of crazy. Um, Honestly, I was thinking about it, but like, with the Clippers, like, let's say the Clippers get the pick this year in that Pacers trade that they made, right? They get that top four pick or whatever, or the 5 to like 9 or whatever. They keep Darius Garland, who's a younger guard. They have Mathurin, who's a younger player. Right, they rebuild from there. They could, and this is if um Sam Presti's a demon. They could. Again, I don't know. I don't know. This is me like just bullshit, but I think a Kawhi for J Dub trade would be fucking electric, and that's if OKC loses the season. If OKC does not lose this season, then that shit is not happening. But if OKC loses, I can see them being like, okay, J Dub, you barely played this season, you fat bitch. We don't need you anymore. Obviously, way nicer than that, and like I don't mean to be disrespectful. But they trade him for Kawhi. They put SGA, fucking Cason Wallace, Kawhi, Shet, iHeart. Oh fuck! I don't even want to think about that. I don't even know if it would work or not. I'm just bullshitting. But regardless, again, OKC in 5, like for sure. Last matchup, Spurs versus Tims. I got Spurs in 6 or Tims in 7. I think this is another one where kind of like the Western version of or not Hawks, 76ers versus Knicks, where it's just super good lineup between both sides. Defensive demons at the fives, but Wemby's more of a two-way player than like just defensive identity only. Even though Gobert is like peak defensively. Good point guards, good scoring, high athletic point guards, or guards. Tim's got some more size on him, which is good for to match up against the Spurs. So I don't know. I think, and I'm pretty sure the Tims beat them in their matchup in the regular season as well. I think Ant had like 40, and I don't know if it was a game winner or something, or I forgot what it was. I know there's I remember like a clip of him like hitting a 3 over Wemby or some shit. It was kind of crazy, but yeah, I think Spurs in 6. Cause I think again Wemby's just too much, and if De'Aaron Fox is playing as well as he is gonna be playing, that's also one thing to look out for. Stephon Castle, is a willing defender, gonna be super physical. But yeah, that's another matchup where I think it's gonna be kind of hard to gauge who could win. Again, I do think the Spurs are winning, but I also do think that the trio of Bones, Ant, and Io is like a lot to handle, because you got Bones' speed, you got Io's bruising ability, you got Ant's 3-way scoring, and back to Bone his 3-point rate as well. So that's a super dynamic trio to go against. And I want to say they're all willing passers, but they can play well together. Like they're cohesive. So again, I could see the Tims taking it to 7 as well and winning, but it depends on Ant, if Ant's going to be playing. I know supposedly he might play tonight, which is insane to come back only 9 days after like hyperextending his knee. To be honest, that motherfucker always had like some crazy healing ability since not even last year, like the season before. Like he's always just been like nuts in terms of like coming back from injuries. But yeah, excited for this matchup. They play tonight. And I forgot who else plays tonight. Um. Oh, the Knicks and 76ers actually. Fuck, man, I can't wait. Oh my god. That's good hoops, man. That's good hoops. Good hoops. What else should I talk about? That is the end of my predictions for the second round. Let me know if y'all agree, if I disagree. I guess the last thing to talk about really is the lottery draft lottery thing is coming or starting Sunday. It's at 3 p.m. I think on Sunday, May 10th. I mean, this is gonna decide a lot of teams' future. You know, so it's gonna be some crazy shit going on that day. As a fan of a player whose team's fate is, you know, decided on what happens, I think it's gonna be crazy. I don't know, like, I can see us getting a top 3 pick. To be honest, like, I can see us, like, I can just imagine it. At the same time, I can see us dropping down to 10, which would be fucking horrible. Because if you drop down to 10, it's like, who the fuck do you even pick at that point? Because I don't think, like, all of the players that I think would match with what the Grizzlies like in their players, like, it's like, I don't think they would drop down. Like, obviously, Boozer at max is like going at minimum, or max is going 3, right? Or minimum 3. I mean, because he could do 1 or 2. Caleb Wilson is not coming to 3, or maybe Caleb could be 4, right? AJ probably 1 or 2. Kingston Fleming, I don't think he's going down to 10. Maybe Mikael Brown Jr. Mikael Brown Jr. He might be able to go down to 10. Yeah, but I can also imagine some crazy shit, like, dude, like, I can imagine just like the top 4 is just like OKC, fucking Hawks, the Clippers can't be in top 4. They'll be top 5 and 9, I think. I can imagine those 2 teams in the top 2. I can imagine fucking I think, again, Pacers getting top 4 would be fire. I can imagine the Warriors getting top 4, bro. Oh my god, would that make me so mad? I'm not gonna lie. Even the Hornets, I think Hornets can get top 4 too, because they're like, yeah, I think Hornets can get top 4. Again, like, I don't know, like, that day's gonna be crazy. And it's Mother's Day, bro. And that's like gonna be fucking. That shit might make or break my day, bro. But anyways, that is it for today's episode of Eyes on the Ball. I hope you enjoyed. If you have anything to say about what I said, anything you want to add on, don't forget to like and comment and subscribe, and, you know, tell me your thoughts. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.